Nikola Tesla was born in Austria in 1966. To this day, he is still considered a genius as he spoke 12 languages, including, incidentally, French. A little eccentric and rather misunderstood, Nikola suffered from a visual impairment, which means that whenever he closed his eyes, he could visualize a number of things and also feel, smell, and even taste them. But the problem was that for Tesla, these images imposed themselves on him even when his eyes were open. He could, for example, see an imaginary train instead of a real cow that was actually standing right in front of him. He finally managed to overcome this handicap by learning to use and exploit it rather than to be subjected to it. Whenever he designed a new project, he would spend ages imagining it first with his eyes closed before actually starting to work on it. Around the age of 14, he began working for Thomas Edison, the famous pioneer in the field of electricity and inventor of the light bulb. The two geniuses quickly challenged each other. Edison argued that direct current, which he had discovered, was better than Nikola's alternating current. Edison went as far as to electrocute elephants to prove the dangers of alternating current, but since it was more economical and convenient for daily use, as you need less of it than direct current, Tesla eventually won the battle. And we all know that alternating current is now an essential part of our daily lives.
Tesla didn't just work on alternating currents, he also came up with extraordinary futuristic inventions. First of all, he invented the radio as well as robotics. For example, he built a remote-controlled boat equipped with a radar, which he had designed himself. But that's not all. He also built a hydroelectric dam that was powered by alternating current and which could supply entire cities. Plus, he created the very first wireless neon lights. Moreover, he was the first to discover how to harness the tremendous amount of energy generated by lightning with his Tesla coil. Thanks to this, it was possible to see incredible flashes of lightning, some of which could rise more than 30 meters towards the sky. The thunder produced by these artificial lightning bolts could be heard miles around. Another of his inventions was a tall, strange, mysterious tower more than 20 meters high. According to Tesla, its purpose was to broadcast radio waves all over the world. The ultimate goal was to build many towers worldwide in order to spread information via airwaves. This set of towers was to be called the Global Wireless System. In this respect, he could actually be considered as one of the pioneers of the Internet or World Wide Web. In 1900, long before the 1990s, so he was definitely ahead of his time. However, Marconi was ahead of Tesla, and he designed the first wireless communication systems through radio waves between Europe and the United States. But then Tesla, in turn, came up with an even crazier idea, which consisted in devising a system that could recover the Earth's energy thanks to storms and redistribute it to homes, thus giving them access to free and unlimited energy. This tower was particularly worrying, as it operated for 15 years, and we still do not really know the ins and the outs of the experiments that were being carried out in there. But what we do know for sure is that every single time it was in operation, the animals fled more than 30 kilometers away, as if to avoid a danger. And then, this tower, for an as yet unknown reason, was destroyed in 1917 during the First World War. In 1934, Tesla announced his ultimate invention, the death ray. He claimed that it was the ultimate weapon, a particle beam weapon that would be capable of disintegrating an aircraft hundreds of kilometers from the emission spot. He believed that if all countries had this weapon, it could put an end to wars and bring peace to the world. However, the scientific community of that time showed no interest in this concept, and they believed it was not viable.
In 1899, Tesla left for Colorado Springs because of murder threats. He had indeed become notorious for his so-called madness, and a number of people believed he was actually trying to destroy them with lightning. So he decided to continue his experiments on a small farm. In front of his farm there was a sign that said danger of death, and accidents occur repeatedly. For example, his lab nearly burned down once, and he was also accidentally responsible for a general power cut in his small town. His isolation in his environment, along with the problems he kept causing, reinforced his reputation as a quote-unquote mad scientist. The whole purpose of his experiments was to put together a wireless energy transmission system. Other experiments worked well, like the one involving a light bulb being lit in the middle of a field, but the bigger project failed as he never actually completed it. He presented it to the press and explained that it did not take him too long to set up, but could not prove this. By the time, Tesla was already beginning to be perceived as a kind of mad scientist, as he claimed to be receiving signals emitted by one of Jupiter's moons, which his system was able to interpret as a message coming from the inhabitants of Mars. The discovery of this astronomical phenomenon, as well as the invention of the process by means of which he could capture it, are proof of his genius, but unfortunately, his interpretation of the phenomenon ended up labeling him as mad scientist. As a result of Tesla's terrible reputation, no one trusted him anymore, and no one ever agreed to invest in his ideas, experiments, and inventions anymore. To make matters worse, he then chose to share his insane inventions with the public, such as electrical weather control or a death ray that is still misunderstood today, instead of his other more useful, successful inventions. He ended his life alone in a hotel room, which he could afford thanks to a pension, dreaming about incredible complex projects that he himself could not even keep up with, and writing and talking to dead, long-alone friends, as he was beginning to suffer from the delusion that he could disconnect himself from the real world around him and visualize another parallel dimension, similar to his own, and live in it. In fact, he was gradually losing his ability to distinguish between the real world and his imaginary world. In other words, he was losing his mind.